Was he really a monster like they said?
No, he was the storm that wouldn't kneel. They couldn't break him, so they branded him. But monsters don't rise from fire, they burn through it. Your father didn't fall. He chose to stand when the world begged him to bow.
I refused to bow, so they called me a monster. I didn't kneel, and that was my crime. They drew a line in the dirt and expected me to crawl. They crowned themselves righteous, dressed in masks, stitched from fear and silence. And when I didn't bow to their ceremony of control, they turned on me with sharpened tongues and holy fire. They needed someone to break so they could feel whole. I refused. They needed someone to shrink so they could look tall. I stood taller. They needed a servant, but I was born a storm. They called me dangerous because I stopped asking for permission. I stopped begging for space. I stopped dimming my fire to warm their cold rooms. And once I did, the labels came like ash after fire. Arrogant, broken, rebellious, unstable, evil, monster. As if that word could shame me into silence, as if their names could rewrite my soul, as if I hadn't already walked through fire and come out steel. I remember the exact moment I chose defiance, not with a scream, but with stillness. When everyone else bent under pressure, I stood. I felt the heat of their stares. I heard the thunder of their judgment, but I didn't move. I didn't flinch. And in that moment I realized something terrifying. Power doesn't scream. Power whispers. I will not. And that's what I became. The I will not. In a world that demanded compliance. I will not fold just to fit. I will not trade truth for comfort. I will not apologize for surviving in ways they never had to. So yes, they called me a monster, but let me tell you what that really means. It means I outgrew their boxes. It means I stopped bleeding for unworthy hands. It means I chose scars over slavery, growth over approval, and truth over their fantasy of who I should be. They say monsters are created, not born. They're right. I was created by betrayal, by being forgotten, by nights where I screamed into pillows because walls had ears and hearts had none. I was created by silence that should have been love, by hands that only reached to take, by friends who vanished when the mask cracked. They carved into me with disappointment, sculpted me with shame, and crowned me with loneliness. And when I didn't die, when I rose, no longer soft, no longer begging, they shuddered at what they had made. I don't have innocence anymore. That was the first thing they stole. What I have now is something else, something forged. There's iron in my blood now, fire in my ribs, and my spine. It's no longer glass, it's stone. I don't look for approval. I look for the next mountain. I don't look for love. I look for those rare few who don't flinch at the fire in my eyes. I'm not cold. I'm precise. I'm not angry. I'm aware. I'm not cruel. I'm clear. They tried to bury me with shame, but I learned that shame can't kill what refuses to kneel. And I refused to pretend I didn't see. Refused to swallow their lies. Refused to be their scapegoat. Their warning sign. Their puppet. They wanted me tame, predictable, quiet. But monsters don't whisper. Monsters roar. And here's the truth they can't erase. Monsters are only monsters because they make the gods nervous. I've seen what they call good. It's obedience dressed up in virtue. It's silence draped in gold. It's compromise wrapped in faith. Well, I am not good by their measure. I never will be, because I remember what I was made from. I remember what it took to get here. The nights I didn't sleep. The days I felt like a ghost in my own body. The voices in my head that tried to convince me I was nothing. But I stayed. I stayed when it would have been easier to vanish. I stayed when the pain begged me to let go. I stayed when every part of me cracked like glass under pressure. And from that pressure, I didn't shatter. I reshaped. So no, I won't apologize for what I became. I won't play small so others feel big. I won't bleach my truth for fragile ears, because I earned this. Every scar is a story. Every wound is a verse. Every inch of this skin carries proof that I lived, really lived, while they just existed. I remember who I was before the fall, before the betrayals, before the world showed me its true face. I was hopeful. I was kind. I was fragile. But that version of me died screaming, and I don't mourn them. I buried them deep. I let the darkness fill the grave. And from that grave, I rose, not reborn, reforged. I don't have a human heart anymore. Not the kind that breaks. Not the kind that weeps for forgiveness. Mine was ripped from me, crushed, discarded. But instead of falling, I turned into something else. Something colder, sharper, stronger. I don't need sympathy. I don't want mercy. I want the weight. I want the pressure. I want the fire that turns flesh to steel. I know who I am now. I've looked in the mirror and seen what lies behind my eyes. It's not purity. It's not grace. It's hunger. It's rage. It's the will to stand when everything else has shattered. While others sleep, I grind. While others cry, I sharpen. While others pray for a miracle, I become the storm that ends it all. I'm not like them. I never was. They bend, they break, they fade. I rise again and again. Broken bones, shattered dreams, bloodied hands. I rise because I am the exception, because I am the reckoning. I've been to the edge. I've stood on the cliff of oblivion and felt the pull. It called to me sweetly, promised relief, promised silence, but I didn't jump. I smiled. I stepped back because I realized I wasn't meant to fall. I was meant to fly, and not the kind of flight that comes from wings. The kind that comes from rage, from defiance, from staring into the void and laughing. I am the best version of my bloodline, not the prettiest, not the most praised, but the strongest, the last one standing. The proof that God doesn't need perfect vessels, just relentless ones. I was given grace, but I earned my fire. I was handed a mission, but I built my warpath.